Today we are going to talk wine. Wine tourism is really big business, believe it or not. Sometimes referred to as Vinitourism or enotourism. This is a phenomenon that takes place around the world. But what is it? Why is it important? And why should we be wine tourists? I'm going to talk about all of this today in this video. And if you're new here, my name is Dr. Hayley Stainton and I'm here to teach you all things travel and tourism. So let's start at the beginning. What is wine tourism? Wine tourism, also known as enotourism and vinitourism, is a focused branch of food tourism, which is specifically to do with wine. It's all about getting to know the world of wine as you travel. Activities typically include vineyard and winery tours, getting to see the wine production line, and, of course, wine tasting. There are even wine museums that you can visit. As with any type of food tourism, you don't have to travel particularly far to engage with wine tourism. A proper wine tasting session at your local pub or bar, for example, is definitely a wine tourism activity. And this industry is actually a lot bigger than many people realise. Put simply, wine tourism is massive. Enotourism is a big deal across the globe, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down in terms of its growth. Statista says the wine tourism market worldwide was estimated to be worth around $8.7 billion in 2020, a year in which the entire global tourism industry was hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. As forecast, the enotourism's market size was expected to reach nearly €29.6 billion in 2030. Van der Monde shared some interesting statistics too, particularly related to where the most wine tourism takes place. They say that the USA has the most wine tourists each year, seeing around 15 million. France is another big draw with around 10 million enotourists visiting each year. Germany hosts around 7.3 million and Italy around 5 million. South Africa and New Zealand have much fewer wine tourists each year, welcoming around 0.5 and 0.2 million respectively. So why has wine tourism become so popular? What's the history around it? Wine tourism is actually a relatively new industry in comparison to winemaking itself anyway. But where there is industry, tourism isn't far behind. People are curious to see how the world around them works, which is why any form of industrial tourism is popular. And industrial tourism is actually something that I find really fascinating, and I have a video about that one. I will link to it at the end. Wine drinkers are keen to see how wine is made, to see where it comes from, and to try new flavours from different areas. Wine tourism is said to date back to the early 20th century, when wine routes were developed throughout Germany. There were and are various routes, though none are more famous than the Weinstraub, which is the oldest and runs through the Palatinate wine region. The Paris wine tasting of 1976 in the Napa Valley, California, was another turning point for wine tourism. French judges blind tasted French and Californian wines, and controversially, the Californian beverages came out on top. It gained a lot of traction in the media, which started promoting an interest in wine-related activities. Later still, and much more recently, in 2004, the film Sideways, starring Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, showcased two men embarking on a wine tour through Santa Ynez Valley. Following the film's release and success, the enotourism industry definitely saw a boost. And not only is it good fun, but wine tourism is actually a really important industry. Here's why. Wine tourism is important to wineries for many reasons. With cheaper, mass-produced wines being much more readily available now, smaller wineries are making less money and business is slowing down. For this reason, branching out into enotourism activities is vital for many wineries. Allowing tourists to visit and pay to taste the wine, see how it's made and meet the winemakers is a brilliant way of providing income. Wine tourists also tend to spend more than the average traveller. In New Zealand, it's actually a whopping 52% more. So what other benefits are there to wine tourism? Of course, as I mentioned, enotourism has a positive impact on wineries and winemakers. It brings in an alternative income and allows people to share their passion with people who will appreciate it. Wine tourism also introduces people to different wines, meaning wineries may go on to have regular custom from these visitors. And are there benefits to the tourists themselves? Well, of course! As with any form of industrial tourism, wine tourism provides an educational opportunity to tourists who want to learn more about wine, winemaking, individual wineries, and so on. It adds a slightly deeper aspect to your trip. It's something a bit different from simply lounging by the pool. As a wine tourist on a specific wine tourism trip, like a tour through a specific region, you can experience so many benefits. For one, vineyard and winery locations are usually beautiful. You'll experience drop-dead gorgeous views that will surely take your breath away. From pretty Germany to jaw-dropping New Zealand, wine tourists get a lot of the nicest destinations. With good wine comes good food. That's a given. Wine tourists eat well, whether it's food provided at a vineyard or a winery, or at restaurants recommended by tour guides. And good food, as we all know, is one of the best things that we can experience in life. Other benefits include finding new wines to enjoy and making friends with like-minded wine lovers. So if all that talk about wine tours and visiting wineries and wine tasting has got you interested, let's take a look at where some of the best places in the world are for wine tourism, or enotourism, or vinitourism. They all mean the same. Germany. Covering around 102,000 hectares, the German wine country isn't the biggest, but it is one of the most famous. The Riesling is one of the most popular wines in the world. The landscapes of the German wine region are simply breathtaking, and it's one of the nicest places to experience wine tourism in all of Europe. Rheinhessen is the largest area of the German wine country, with some very rare grape varieties. Wine has been made here since the ancient Roman times. The best vineyards here are around Rheinterrasse, which is the riverbank area of the Rhine. Palatinate is the best region for the famous Riesling wines. It's also the region for wine festivals, which are of course a huge hit with NO tourists. Not only that, but Palatinate is home to some of the best food in Germany too. And Mosel is where you want to go for sweet wines and views that will leave you speechless. The wines are made on heat-storing slate soil, which is a really unique and of course fascinating way to make wine, and you can learn all about this as a wine tourist. California. Wine tours are so popular in California and a real must-do if you're in the area and have a penchant for wine. Two areas in particular that are incredible for wine tours include Sonoma and the Napa Valley. The best way to do this is by taking a wine tour. Some include picnics, for some you'll be on an e-bike, and some tours are combined with hiking. You can choose from luxury private tours to big group tours. But whatever you do, if you're a wine lover vacationing in California, don't miss out on discovering the vineyards and wineries of the region. France. If you want to see where some of the most famous types of wine come from, the wine region in France is for you. From Champagne to Bordeaux, there are so many regions here with wines named after them. And with wine tours, vineyard visits, and tasting sessions, you can explore them all. From wine and golf weekends to champagne workshops, there is so much you can incorporate into wine tourism in France. And if you don't want a whole wine-focused holiday but still want a taste of the good stuff on your trip, there are plenty of day trips you can book too. New Zealand. Wine tourism is a growing industry for the Kiwis, with a whopping 40,000 hectares of vineyard space across the country, as opposed to just 400 hectares back in 1960. New Zealand is known as the second home of Sauvignon Blanc. Some of the best places to visit include Marlborough, which is the largest of New Zealand's wine regions. The wine production here is diverse and the scenery is breathtakingly green. The area is split into 3 subzones, known as the Southern Valley, Wairau Valley, and Awata Valley. You can opt for self-guided tours of the region, hop-on, hop-off bus tours, and guided tours too. Central Otago is the southernmost wine region in the world, which gives it great kudos amongst visitors. It is also absolutely stunning, with vines on narrow little terraces located on sloping, snow-capped mountains. Some of the world's best Pinot Noir wines come from here. You can book a tour and visit multiple wineries, eat lunch, see the gorgeous scenery, and most importantly, taste some of these local wines too. So did you realise that wine tourism is actually as big as this? I didn't. And if you have enjoyed this video and learning all about wine tourism, you should learn more about the general food tourism industry in this video, and I've got a couple more videos that you will love too.